Want to see what $3.5 million can get you in one of Burlingame's best neighborhoods? I'm going to show you inside an awesome home in Burlingame's Easton Addition neighborhood. But before I do, I'm going to give you a really good overview of what Easton Addition is all about. What does it cost to live here? What it's like to live here? What it's like to go trick-or-treating here? We're going to dive into all of that, and then we'll come back to this awesome home in a few minutes. So let's dive in. So I grew up in Burlingame, and when people kind of talk about Burlingame, and especially from my kind of professional experience, people are talking about Easton Addition being the quintessential Burlingame neighborhood. It's the top of almost everyone's list. I'm going to share with you a few reasons why, but first, let me just mention that the neighborhood's about 1,500 acres in total, and over the last 12 months, we've had 149 sales in Burlingame, and about 46 of those homes have been in the Easton Addition neighborhood. So a huge percentage of homes that sell in the whole city are here. So that's why it's important to kind of consider this if you're thinking about buying a home in Burlingame. Okay, let me give you a quick idea on pricing for Easton Addition. The average sales price over the last 12 months was $3.4 million, and the median sales price was about $3.3 million. But again, these are just average and median, and what's interesting about this neighborhood compared to others in Burlingame is we have a huge variety of pricing, and it's probably the most diverse neighborhood in Burlingame from an architectural standpoint. And that's saying a lot, because you can buy a home for $2 million, a cute little 2-bedroom. There's very few of those left in the neighborhood because so many of those have been torn down and built into bigger homes over time, and that's just kind of what has happened. A 3-bedroom home in Easton Addition is kind of going to start around low 2s and go up to like higher $2 million range. A 4-bedroom home is typically going to start with a 3 in front of it, so that's going to probably be about low 3s up to about $5 million. And a 5-bedroom is actually be a similar price point as a 4-bedroom because a lot of 4-bedrooms have offices, and a 5-bedroom is going to kind of be like $4 to $5 million. Can you spend more than that? Yes, there's a home on the market right now that's in the mid-5s for a new construction with an ADU. However, that's kind of the sweet spot. Is going to kind of be like 2s, 3s, and 4s for Easton Addition. I also love that you get a variety of different types of architecture. So you're going to find craftsman, Victorian, Spanish, and Mediterranean style homes. There's just like a big selection here. The other thing that I love about Easton Addition is the location. So kind of wherever you are within the neighborhood, you're going to kind of be generally flat and walkable. Kind of the more west you go from El Camino, you're going to kind of be going up the hill. You have 2 big streets in the neighborhood. You have Hillside, and then you have Adeline, which kind of run parallel, and then go about halfway up the hill to Alvarado, which is kind of the western border of the Easton Addition neighborhood. And so if you're in the kind of the eastern part of the Easton Addition neighborhood, I know that's a mouthful, that's where it's going to kind of be the flattest. And you have some really choice streets in there like Cortez, Balboa. These are really awesome, especially from a trick-or-treating perspective. So if you're coming here, we're shooting this now in early September. If you're going to come here for trick-or-treating, this is the place to be on Halloween, okay? Because you're probably going to have several thousand people who go trick-or-treating here. There's a couple other popular spots in the peninsula like Eucalyptus in San Carlos, kind of Aragon, Baywood neighborhood in San Mateo, and then Easton Addition is at the top of everyone's list. So kind of going back to some of those choice streets, as you go west, you're going to kind of see homes that they still have flat yards, but you're going to see the yard might be like a couple feet higher than the house, or you might see a retaining wall in the back. Again, not a big deal, but I just feel like the type of home you can get here and the location, the southern part of the neighborhood is actually walking distance to Broadway. The northern part of the neighborhood is just south of the Bray Park neighborhood, which is pretty convenient. Like if you are popping up to the city for work, you want to take Caltrain or BART, you're like easily like a 3 to 5 minute drive, or like maybe a 10-minute bike ride, like at the most. It's not a big deal. You are kind of pretty far though from downtown Burlingame, so that's maybe a little bit of a negative, but again, that's our first world issue. That's really not a big deal because again, you have Broadway there, and then you also have Burlingame Plaza at the corner of Truesdale and El Camino. Another reason why I love Easton Addition is there's such high tree density here compared to most other neighborhoods in Burlingame. Burlingame, you probably might not know, has been a city of trees USA for over 30 straight years. We have over 18,000 public trees in the city of Burlingame, and so many of them are in Easton Addition. So we have trees that are over 100 years old, sycamore, magnolia trees. We have redwood trees that you see like in a lot of people's backyards. So that's kind of something that we're really proud of. The city actually will maintain and stop by every tree that's public at least once every 5 years. That's something that's not common with other towns in the peninsula, and I'm really proud that we do have that in Burlingame. The other thing I love about Easton Addition is it has its own branch of the Burlingame Public Library. There's no other town that I'm aware of with this like small of a population on the peninsula that has a second branch of the library in the heart of a residential neighborhood. So it's pretty cool. Burlingame actually has over 250 story times a year where kids can go into the main library or the Easton branch and just listen to stories, and depending on if the weather's really nice, you could see some kids walking to the branch of the library in their jammies ready for story time, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, if you're a family and you're thinking about living in Burlingame, that's kind of cool. About 10-15 years ago, about $1 million worth was raised to restore the library. Actually was on the board of the Burlingame Library Foundation for a while, and I just remember kind of hearing a lot about that project. It's just a beautiful spot to go relax in the Craftsman leather reading chairs, hang out by the fireplace, and check out some books. It's also worth mentioning that Burlingame has the #2 ranked library system in the state of California as of several years ago. That metric was based on per capita funding, which now is, I believe, close to about $150 per resident per year. About a third of the budget comes from the city of Hillsborough, which I think is cool because they don't have their own library. The town that is #1 ahead of Burlingame from per capita funding is Beverly Hills. So we are very proud of our library system here, and I guess it's a nice plug, and it is cool that we have that in the heart of the neighborhood. I'm super excited to give you a quick look inside this house. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's about 2570 square feet. We're a little under a 5,000 square foot lot. Most in the neighborhood are about 5,000 to 6,000. This is a really accessible price point. We're right around mid $3.5 million range, and we are in the heart of the Easton Addition neighborhood. So come on inside. I'm really excited to show you what this looks like. Okay, so we're in the entry now. We have a really cool bubble glass chandelier over here. I'm gonna come back to this area in a sec, because I'm really excited to show you that. But first, let's take a look over here for this kind of family living room here. What's cool about this house is you have 10-foot ceilings, which is very unusual for Burlingame. If you're building a brand new construction house today, I don't believe that you could build with 10 foot on the ground level. Second level is now capped at 8.5 feet. So that's not amazing. So if you're building brand new construction, you might not be getting ceilings as high as what you can get on like an older home like this. This home was built in 1999. We have some really wide open spaces. I just kind of love that. This is the neighbor's property over there in Easton Addition. Most of the lot sizes are about 6,000 square feet. This lot size is a little under 5,000, so a tad smaller, but it just means that the yard's a little bit smaller in the back. But because of the proximity to the neighbors, you have some really good tree coverage here, like I'd kind of call like a green screen. And then we have the dining room over here, which will come to a sec. But first, let me show you this area over here that is very unusual. So nowadays, just kind of being able to work from home and having a separate space from the bedrooms where you can work, this is actually pretty sweet. You have a downstairs, it's technically a bedroom, but it's more like an office with some pretty sweet built-ins. Again, you have the 10-foot ceilings here. You have the neighbor over here. But I just love this space here because there's so much light that comes in. It's kind of separate from the rest of the house. It's just kind of easy. You close these double doors and you get your business done. So now let's pop over and check out the rest of the house. So what's pretty common for homes of this size, I mean, this is, again, 2570 square feet, but a lot of times in Easton Addition, we'll see them up to 3,000 square feet. What's cool about this is, of course, you have a ground floor bathroom, but you do have a full bath here with a walk-in shower, so that is worth acknowledging. I know it's not super exciting, but many people do find that valuable, and because you have that office there, which can kind of double as a bedroom, I do think this is really nice, and it's kind of tucked away in a little hallway, and then you have a lot of storage here. But let me take a look here and show you the dining room, because this is something that I'm super excited about. Again, you still have the 10-foot ceilings around the whole downstairs of the house, but you have a really wide space here where you can easily sit like 8 or 10 people if you're entertaining. I'll show you over here my favorite part of the house with some of the flow to the yard, but there's a good access to the kitchen and then also good access to the living room over here. So a lot of times in Burlingame, it's hard to get good floor plans with good flow, with higher ceilings. And I feel like this just kind of represents something that I would give an 8 to from that perspective. So let's kind of take a look over here. Again, you have good privacy with the neighbor. A lot of these homes in Burlingame are on lot sizes of 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. And so you typically have like between a 4 and 5 foot setback, depending on when the home was built, but most of the time it's 5 feet. A common complaint that people say about homes in Easton Addition, they feel kind of squished together when you're spending $3, $4, $5 million. And I know that's not an amazing feeling, but the other options, you go Hillsborough, you can spend a lot more money or the same money, but you could be a little bit farther away and things are just gonna be a lot more spread out. So I'm not saying one is better or worse, but that's kind of how it is in Burlingame. If you like being in your backyard and your kids are there and they're throwing the Frisbee around like I did with our son last night, and if the Frisbee goes up on the roof, which did happen to us a few nights ago, it is what it is. But if it goes to the neighbor's house, they'll throw it back the next day. So that's kind of the vibe you're gonna get in Burlingame and particularly in Easton Addition. It's just like very family friendly and sought over. So, but let's take a look at the kitchen here. This has really good flow. This is kind of what we call the great room feel, like more the open concept. For people who are looking in Burlingame, in Easton Addition or Burlingame Park, just in general, most people are gonna be wanting this type of floor plan. And by type, I just mean like you have the kitchen, you have double French doors doors that open into the yard. Personally, I think that's something that a lot of people really love, including myself, for what we have at our house. I like that you have the sink over here. The sink just kind of looks directly into the yard. I was reviewing some plans for some folks who I represented buying a property a few months ago, and they sent me the plans from the architect, and they had the kitchen all the way over there, kind of where the dining room is, and the sink was looking directly, like when you stand at the sink, you'd be looking directly at the neighbor's property. And I just wasn't a big fan of that, and I kind of was like, hey, maybe you should consider doing something like this, because most people like to be able to see into the backyard. If you're entertaining, barbecuing, whatever it is, kids running around, you just have a lot better flow. And so this kind of makes this a little bit more special. I also love in this kitchen, we have some nice appliances. We have a Sub-Zero fridge. We have Thermador gas range. We have the dishwasher here. We have a Sub-Zero wine cooler, built-in microwave, and then this beautiful countertop and island that was just put in the last few years. So it was actually redesigned. This was original. House was built in '99, so this is not considered like an old house. And one thing it's worth mentioning, if you're doing a brand new construction home today, it's nice because you can build exactly what you want, but some of these older homes, and by older, it could be 10 or 20 years old, you're gonna be able to get a little bit higher ceiling height, which I don't think is a bad thing. So you get a lower purchase price, and maybe it's a house you come in and you can refresh and update and kind of make it what you want. All right, I'm excited to show you this part of the house. This is kind of the great room. And what's cool about this, it's kind of an extension of the kitchen area. I just love these built-ins. Again, because you have the 10-foot ceiling height, you get these built-in cabinets that go all the way up. And obviously this is staged. This is not how any normal people like you would actually live, including me, like at my house, where we've got tons of things to stashed in there, and games and books and whatever. But this is nice because a lot of other homes, they're just gonna have some furniture against here. So I do think this was really thoughtfully designed. I like that there's a gas fireplace over here. There's a frame TV with Sonos. And then you can kind of take a look at the windows here. These are really wide picture windows that is not as common, and it just lets in a lot of light. We do get some good shade here from the palm trees, which we're gonna take a look at in a sec. This yard is just fantastic, but I just think this is a really good space. So come on with me. I'm gonna show you upstairs, which is of course half the house, and there's a lot going on up there too. So come with me up. All right, so now we're on the second level. I'm really excited to kind of show you what the flow is up here. But first of all, let me start with a key selling feature. In here, we have a washer and dryer on the second floor. This might not sound like a big deal, and when you're spending millions of dollars, you say, okay, obviously I should have that, but a lot of homes don't have that, and that's kind of nice for obvious reasons. If you have the bedrooms up here, just bring all the laundry, because a lot of the older homes, all the laundry is like, I mean, we don't really have basements in Burlingame, but it's in the garage, or it's in the kitchen area, or just somewhere downstairs. So this is a big selling point. It's not unusual though, when you're buying a house at the probably $4 to $5 million price point. For this house, like in the mid threes, this is a pretty nice feature. We also have a linen closet here. Come on over here with me. First, I'll show you, this is a kid's bedroom, or however you want to use this space. We kind of have this staged with 2 twin beds. Obviously, you can see the neighbor's roof over here, which, so if I were living in this house, you'd probably keep the blinds down a little bit more often and just let a lot of light come in. But again, that's a little bit of a drawback of homes in Easton Addition and Burlingame, but you don't have, obviously you can see this is a 1-level house here, so it's really not that big a deal, but just something to keep in mind. And we also have carpet here, and we have gorgeous hardwood floors, which these are solid plank oak hardwood floors, and just this beautiful coffee color that's like a very classic feel that we see in Burlingame. Come on with me over here, and this is the second bedroom. And this is kind of in the front of the house. We get a ton of light in here, which is a nice selling point. I know natural light for me is a really big deal, and that certainly adds to the price, but like from a resale value and just like your mental health, it is good to have all that natural light in the house. This is not a massive bedroom, but for like a kid or home office, I think it's like totally fine. We have a double bed here, but you could probably put a queen. King might be a little ambitious, but again, I think it's totally fine. And then we also have a balcony over here, which is a little bit unusual, and I do think it's a positive. It has a good railing over there, so someone could sit out there, drink their morning coffee, or just kind of put plants. I think that's kind of nice. All right, come on with me now, and I'm gonna show you another cool part of the house. Again, not the sexiest thing, but I do want to point out in a house like this, you do have an attic. So it actually, you just kind of take up there a pole, there's a little hook, and then you kind of pull it down, and then you go up some steps, and then you can kind of store things up there. Now, it's good in my opinion if you want to store your Kirkland toilet paper up there, or kids' diapers, or sleeping bags, or suitcases, things like that. So that's kind of nice. You don't see that in lots of houses. Sometimes they're not ventilated as well, but that's an easy fix if it's kind of warm up there. And then here we have a full bath. This is cool. I do like, here, come in, let me show you over here. Obviously, I'm in the bathroom. There's not a ton that I'm gonna talk to you about here, but I do want to point out one important thing is that you do have a door in between the bathtub, shower area, and then you have 2 sinks here. So I think that's a nice selling feature. So if you're thinking about building your own house or just kind of open to it, I do think being able to separate them is nice. All right, so come on with me now here. I'm gonna show you the primary bedroom. And what's cool about this is massive. We have pretty killer views. You can basically walk around in your birthday suit in here and your neighbors are not gonna see you at all. So we have a king bed here. If you check out kind of the backyard, you have some really good privacy for the palm trees. Over here is a total green screen all the way around. We have some automatic window shades here in the primary bath, which I'm gonna show you in a second. But this is just a really big space that is nice. If you're looking for a home in Easton Addition, you're kind of looking like 1,800 square feet. You're probably not gonna be getting a primary bedroom of this size. This is more reserved for homes that are like in the mid 2,000 square foot range on up. Now, like I said, this is 2,500 square feet. If you were to buy a home at about 3,000 square feet, you're just gonna be getting an extra bedroom and like more space in the kitchen area, great room like we talked about earlier. But from a primary bedroom size, you're probably not gonna see anything larger than this. So it's nice. I feel like the designer really did a thoughtful job of incorporating good design into the house. Now let's take a look at the primary bath here. All right, so this is the third bathroom that we're talking about. This stuff's important, people. You spend a lot of time in here. Hopefully not too much though. So we have this huge area. We have some blinds that go up and down, gives you a little bit more privacy with the neighbors. God, that's so clean. What's interesting, you can buy something like this. So these are actually from a place called the Shade Store on Burlingame Avenue, and they're battery operated. And these batteries last a long time, so they're like not super expensive. The other way they do this is you kind of hardwire it in. You don't have to change the battery ever. But again, those are pretty pricey. So nice selling point. And something you can do for any house, any type of retrofit. I also like that you have a freestanding bathtub. You have some really beautiful stonework around here. I wouldn't be surprised though if someone buys this house and ends up remodeling this bathroom if they wanted to refresh it with something maybe a little bit more new or for a certain type of style that they have working with their designer. But again, totally functional to move into. You have a really huge walk-in shower here with 2 shower heads actually. So you can have 2 people in the bath, which is really nice because then you can have 2 people in the shower at the same time. And I'll leave it there. Cool, now check this out. This is the primary bath closet and this thing is massive. I mean, look, I'm sticking my arms out and it's like 10 feet wide, probably by like 8 or 10 feet here. And this is massive if you have a shoe collection or a significant other with lots of clothes, or you have the clothes problem, whatever it is, there's tons of space in here and we have a cool skylight up top. You could even put like a little island in here. I've seen those sometimes, but I think this is another benefit when you're looking at a higher price point, you're just gonna get a lot more space. Some of the lower price points in Burlingame, it's a very common complaint that I hear from buyers. Oh my gosh, these homes are like insanely expensive and have basically no storage space. And that's a fair concern. The way you can do that is kind of spend more, which I know is easy for me to say, but that's kind of how you get a little bit more space. All right, so this yard here is fantastic. Now, what I love about it though is how private it is. So this is not a money thing for Easton Addition, like the more that you spend, but depending on the kind of the topography and who's next to you, this is extremely private because I can't see any other houses. There's no house here. There's another big house here, but it's like at least 30 feet before I can see a window. And again, I don't see anything aside from that other structure. So I think that's a really nice thing. And just kind of depends. So if you're looking at Easton Addition, something to consider. Okay, I love that there's a pergola here. There's actually a little kiwi plant here. I'm looking right now, there's about like 30 or 40 kiwis above this whole area. You have a banana tree. Let's take a look over here. We have some palm trees, which is pretty unusual for Burlingame to see that. I just want to show you kind of how big this yard is for being like about a 4,800 foot lot. This is still pretty good. The reason why this is good is because of one more thing that I'm gonna show you guys in a minute that makes this house what it is. But this is turf here. Turf is a big thing. I personally am a huge fan of it. I know environmentally it's not the best perhaps, but you save a ton of water. I learned interestingly recently that the amount of water that's used in the United States every year for watering lawns and all that is 4 times the amount that's used for agriculture, which is crazy. So when I think about that, and when we built our house a few years ago, we do have a lot of natural landscaping, but having turf is nice. The negative though is on really hot days. Here we have a lot of good shade, but on hot days, it can be 5 to 10 degrees warmer when you're standing on the turf than if you're standing on grass. So kind of hard to have your cake and eat it too, but it is what it is. Okay, now you've been very patient. I'm gonna take you into what I think is one of the best parts of the house. Let's talk about the garage, because in Burlingame, it is very rare to find a home with a 2-car attached garage. Now, if you were building a brand new home or buying a new home, $5-6 million, whatever it is, you're gonna expect to get a 1 or 2-car detached garage in the back left or back right corner of the lot, which again is fine because that could be used as some flex space or you could park a car there. But the negative in my view is you're gonna have a very long driveway, whatever it is, 10, 12 feet wide, going down the whole side of your property. So you might say that's cool. My kids are gonna ride the bike there. We're gonna set up a batting cage gauge, okay, that's nice. But in my view, it's generally like wasted space. And I feel like having an attached garage of even one car is pretty awesome. So if it's raining, you walk in with your groceries, it's super easy. You can actually park cars in here. A lot of people moving down from San Francisco, and if that's you watching this, it's a dream. Like my wife, when we moved down from San Francisco to Burlingame, it was really important that she could drive her car into the garage, hit that beautiful tennis ball coming down, and she like fit perfectly. But then when she opened the door, like it was kind of hard because we had a one car garage. It was kind of hard to get out. But really, most people don't actually park in garages in Burlingame. But for something like this, you actually could easily park 2 cars. Probably not necessary because you have 2-car parking in front. But I just want to highlight this because it's kind of a big deal to get an attached garage. So if you're thinking about buying a property in Burlingame, I feel like it's important if you get the attached garage to consider the ADU, because you have attached, and ADU is the accessory dwelling unit. Those became very popular in January 2020 in California when actually, well, not popular, they became legal, and then they became very popular. And that allows you to build like a guest cottage or what they call ADU accessory dwelling structure in the back corner of your property. And if you have an attached garage, that's a huge strength. Now this lot in particular being a little under 5,000, you can't really do that. But for anything that's probably 5,000 or 6,000 square feet with an attached garage, you're gonna be able to check that box. In fact, for us, we have a 1-car attached garage, and then we have an ADU in the back corner. Otherwise, if you have a detached garage, you could convert that to an ADU, but then you wouldn't have a garage where everyone has stuff that they need to store. Anyways, that is the garage. If you found this video helpful or useful or interesting, please consider hitting that like button. If you'd like to receive more videos like this, when you log into YouTube, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you live in San Francisco and you're thinking about making a move down to Burlingame, or you live in Burlingame and you're thinking about buying your first house, or you want more space, I'd love to be your Peninsula real estate resource of choice. So drop me a text, email, phone call, whatever it is, and I'll see you on the next video.